The most important value proposition from each of your exercises. Very quickly, what did you come up with, Stephen? Just what was your most important one? Just one.
For us, the most important is the continuing product innovation.
Continuing product innovation. And Matthew, what did you come up with?
Reputation.
Reputation. Okay. Sebastian, any ideas? Okay. Yes, Tim?
And my team is think about the quality of the product.
Quality of the product. Okay.
Reputation for quality.
Reputation for quality. Okay, so we have quality, we have product innovation, reputation. So there's some overlap, but there's some differences. So all firms compete differently. And Peggy, what did you, Joanna, did you come up with any?
Remain the best resources.
Retain the best resources. Human resources, of course. We don't want too much turnover in our firm, do we? And we lose all the knowledge. That's another issue. Okay, so ultimately, we've got many parties in the organisation. We've got the boss, we've got the subordinate, but we've got the customer. And so how do we manage that? And so hopefully today, look, systems thinking, if we understand the system more, we can understand how our behaviour interacts with other parties' behaviour in the organisation. And you'll find that very telling when you start to play the game. Okay. Now, that I've mentioned one principle. We've got three letters to learn today. That's SMS. How many of you use SMS on your phone? Mobile phone? SMS? Okay. Who's expert at SMS? Johnson? SMS. And the first letter in SMS is strategy. It's a strategy and related objectives, strategic objectives. All of you in your first mini task have started, I asked you to think about strategy or the objectives of the organisation. What is the overall value proposition to the customer? If we don't get that right, then it doesn't matter what else we do in the organisation, we're not going to have a larger pie to cut up for all the organisation participants. So that's number one, S, strategic objectives. Now there's two other letters I'm going to introduce you to, and that is M, SMS. You'll remember this forever, SMS. I'll ask you in 5 years' time, Deborah. M is for measurement, and S is for systems thinking. Okay, so those three things is the whole theme of today. And if I don't mention it 100 times, you can give me a negative evaluation. Okay? The three themes, the theme of today is SMS. Okay? Strategic objectives, measurement, and systems thinking. This interactive game will make you very aware of those three items. Now, because I'm learning always, originally I came up with this idea, most goal, that is if you have measures, objectives and systems thinking, but I just want to share with you my learning. The most is my second best an acronym that I came up with. SMS is better because we all remember that in Hong Kong. Everyone is using SMS. Okay, so most has the same words, but SMS, strategic objectives, measures and systems thinking. Why is that important? Well, goal alignment, on-time decision making, accurate decision making and learning. So let's focus on SMS as the theme of today. And I will start very quickly in the next 20 minutes. I'm going to take you through the balanced scorecard basics. And then introduce you to a case study, this China company, that will help give a second best idea of what balanced scorecard is about. And outside of your actual experience, our first best experience will be this interactive game. And it does take a while to get started on this. We want to spend at least 2.5 hours on this game this afternoon. Now, if you're on your own, if you bought this game and take it home, you can watch the pre-game videos, and the videos tell you about how to play the game. My job today is to try and shortcut that introduction so you don't have to spend as much time before you start the game. If you watch all the game videos, it can take 40 minutes or more. Okay? All the materials, resources that come with the game. There's SMS again. I'm sorry, but SMS is the theme. All right? SMS organised another way. Balanced scorecard is about balancing measurements of financial and non-financial indicators. It is about systems thinking, and it is about strategy and operations. And you can organise those words around as SMS. And it's not much more than that. Now already you have dealt with the S in SMS. You have told me, to the best of your knowledge, what the value proposition for your company is. Okay, highest quality, reputation, product. That's the strategy part. What the balanced scorecard helps you to do is to translate your strategy into operation, into the operational level. How does it do that? It helps you to actually identify objectives at operations level according to 3-4 perspectives. There's the financial, customer, internal, and learning. So we must start with the strategy. That's a sign for participation. Actually, you'll get to know that music very often in this simulation game. So it's time for you to give me an indication. On page 7 at the bottom, I want you to indicate in your firm, in which of the following areas does your firm emphasise the most in communications? So just a quick tick at the bottom of page 7. Bottom of page 7. For example, whenever your boss or the director of your firm is talking, do you hear more talk about the processes in the organisation, about the customer, or about the profits for the past quarter? And so just very quickly, your first impression. It's just your impressions of the communications in your organisation. So you can do that in groups of 2. And I'll give you 45 seconds. It's just your impression. What is your impression of the communications that you experience in your organisation, whether it's through that email, letters, or informal discussions? Okay, that just about wraps up. So let's hands up for financial as the high. Anyone? 1, 2, 3. Okay, customer. Okay, 1, 2. Financial and customer. Okay, customer. Okay. Internal processes. 2, 3. Okay. And learning and growth. Staff development. What's happening? Isn't there any staff development, CPA Australia?
Yes.
Don't answer that
Customers
question.
come first.
Okay, customers come first. Okay, so the balanced scorecard is about, okay, the customer is important because that is how the company grows its cake, right? We need a big cake so we can divide it up to all the stakeholders, all right? So if we don't look after the customer, our cake won't be that large, right? Right, so that's important. But in the process of delivering value to the customer, we need to balance that priority with the internal processes. Okay? How do we acquire customers? How do we retain customers once we get them? They're the processes. I'm applying this to the service sector in Hong Kong because they dominate the industries in Hong Kong. Right? So customer acquisition and customer retention are dominant processes in many service industries in Hong Kong. And then learning and growth. we need to develop people in order to acquire customers in the way that helps us to retain them in the long term. It's very easy to get a quick, cheap customer, but how do you keep them? Okay. It's more difficult to get a customer and to retain the customer for the long term. That's where you can get more value. I'm very glad to say that this game, and I'll mention it the 10th time, talks about those two processes, the customer acquisition and the customer retention process. How many of you are familiar with those? Some of you in your pre-survey mentioned this. Now we're at the top of page 8. Hands up if you're familiar with those 4 perspectives. 1, 2. Hands up if you're familiar with the financial perspective. Some of you, where you get most communications on financial, are probably more familiar on that. Johnson, your feeling? Okay. I think every one of us, we experience a lot of communication, especially in the public sector, about the financial perspective. Because the bottom line does matter. If you're a listed company, you have to deliver quarter by quarter in most of the developed stock markets around the world. Okay, the customer perspective. Some of you mentioned, okay, the customer comes first. The customer comes first. So, how many of you are familiar with this question? How does your firm communicate how it should appear to the customers? Now, when you did the minor task at the beginning, the value proposition is hits the mark here. And several of you said that the value proposition was quality, reputation. And so this is how firms try to find out, okay, well, they know from their experience how they can provide value to the customer. Because the customer sees the firm as reputable, it's going to be there next year. Or the products it has or services it delivers are going to be long-lasting. So the sustainable competitive advantage helps us focus on the customer perspective, how we should appear to the customers. But it also balances that with the financial perspective. Because in this task, I also asked you your ability to beat competitors. And that was the key to balancing the customer perspective with the financial. You need to both be able to provide value to the customer, but if you can't beat competitors, then you may lose out on the financial perspective, because you need that edge to make customers come to you and not to your competitors. And that's how you can grow financially. So the first mini task you did, some of you are probably wondering, what's this about? I'm waiting for the speaker. I paid for the speaker, the seminar. So I come into this room and I have to do work. It's Saturday afternoon, I worked all morning. How many of you are tired from working this morning? Enter? Anyone? All my students, they have an assignment due next week, that's why. Okay. But this task gets to the crunch of balancing the financial and customer perspective. It's the external focus of the organisation. It is the strategic focus of the organisation. Okay. That leaves the 2 other parts, the processes and learning and growth perspectives. Okay. Let me just stop for a minute. Okay. Just do a short summary. Okay. What was the acronym I mentioned earlier, Simon? What's the whole theme of this afternoon? SMS, good. And what does SMS stand for? Patsy? Yes. Yes. And systems thinking, yes. Okay. Now we're starting to verge onto the area of systems thinking now. Okay. Like, you will know measures when you see them. I don't have to tell you about measures. All of you are measured some way or another. And when you see them on their PowerPoint, you say, yes,